Warrior Games, and I appreciate you tuning in, whether you're listening on your radio, streaming the show online at extrasports1300.com, or you've downloaded the Extra Sports 1300 app to do your listening. And that app is, of course, sponsored by Diversus Health, Mental Health, and Well-Being for All. Plenty of guests today, and let us not waste any more time. I am joined by a member of Team Army, is Captain Shonda Mitchell. Captain Mitchell, pleasure to have you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here, first of all.
Yeah.
That's an honor, but doing well. Loving the game so far.
Yes, you are, and you would be having fun no matter what, but I got to imagine the fact that you're lugging around 10 medals has enhanced your experience here at Colorado Springs.
That might have something to do with it. 10 medals or 0 medals. Just the opportunity to be the Army's pick for UC has been very humbling, amazing. So I get to participate in all the events. That's been incredible, but winning 10 medals hasn't hurt.
And you mentioned being in the Ultimate Champion division. When they came to you and said, we want you to run the gamut, we want you in everything. How did that, was that a little daunting at first, or were you like, this is amazing, bring it on?
I'd say both.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm being honest, it was incredibly humbling, like I said, and inspiring. Just to first off, thank you so much to Adrienne Wilson. She met me at an intro to sports camp that my SRU Fort Bliss sent me to, and there she at the last day of the camp they were talking about Warrior Games, the trials coming up. If you guys are interested, as well as there's something called the UC, and then she just turned right to me and she's like, "Would you want to try?" What's the UC? So she told me all about it, and trials happen to be in my neck of the woods, which is Fort Bliss, SRU. We hosted it. So once I was there, and I was like, "Hey, did you guys still want me to try out for this UC?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure. Why don't I have you do everything?" And I did everything. And a couple of weeks later, I received the information, and I felt a lot of weight immediately. There's a lot of responsibility on me, but also just so grateful to get to do all the sports.
And now you're feeling weight, like particularly around your neck when everyone's asking you to pose for photos with all 10 of your medals.
Yes.
So far, were you an athlete growing up?
I was. I was an athlete growing up. My dad was in the Navy, so I kind of have a soft spot for Navy. Team Navy, not anybody else had, but my dad was in the Navy growing up, and we moved all over. I lived in Italy for about 6 years. So I was the only female on the inline hockey team. I played soccer all my life, ran track and field, and then when I moved back to America after I retired, I was the only female on my football team. It was tackle football in high school. And sometimes I would show up to a different high school and they didn't know I was a female, so I'd be covered in my gear, like some of my teammates. That was incredible. It's just an awesome experience. And then there was a semi-pro men's league, so I played in that league for a while until the WFA actually brought a team to New Mexico, so the women's league, and played in that. We went to the championship in Canton, Ohio, and I was deployed right after.
Captain Shonda Mitchell representing Team Army as their ultimate champion this week at the DoD Warrior Games. So you understand, I guess, the power of sports, right? But did you think that it extended to the point where it could help you in recovery from the injury that you sustained while you were here?
No, so I honestly, it was a little kind of spiraling moment afterwards. First, I was in excruciating pain. I felt like I wouldn't be able to walk again, control my bowels again, so I was nervous in that aspect. And then after the surgery, it's kind of hit or miss. You have to kind of heal a little bit, and then you see where your progress is and see to what extent the nerve damage was, and if it was going to come back. The nerves are very hard to regenerate, so if they would come back, any sensation feeling. So once I learned about the ARCP program and adaptive sports, and I realized that, hey, I don't have to stop being an athlete. It just looks a different form right now. It looks a little different than what I'm used to, but this is my new normal. That really helps get me out of a dark place.
And how are you feeling?
I'm feeling incredible. Being at the Warrior Games, especially right now, this time in my life, I'm very appreciative. It's been a pretty rough month, and it's also like an outlet, any emotions or aggression or anything I'm feeling. I have a focus, so I can't spiral. I can't, go down to pity party because one, I'm the UC, so my team is looking at me. I have big shoes to fill, and also it's something that I want to do good for myself as well.
Absolutely, and you're competing for someone else. Let's talk about who you're doing this all for, your sister.
Yeah, so this is my little sister here in the picture. This is me, my sister Brandy. Unfortunately, about a little over a month ago, she passed away. She's 29 years old. So she isn't here with me physically, but she was planning to be here. Her husband actually just left yesterday, so he was here. That was incredible. Jeff came down, and he was here with my family. So now the bigger drive, especially for track and field day, I'd say I'm working hard on everything, but 6 of the 10 medals came from track and field, which I just really wanted to give my all at those events. She was a big track and field star in high school as well. So.
Well, that's awesome, and you have certainly done her more than proud with what you've already accomplished, and this is a small part, right, of what you've accomplished in your entire life. So I'm sure she's incredibly proud of her big sister. Let's talk about. So we have volleyball going on now. Are you in doing the volleyball? Yeah, you gotta do everything, don't you?
So for the Ultimate Champion, you do every individual event.
Okay.
So volleyball, wheelchair basketball, and wheelchair rugby, the Ultimate Champion typically doesn't compete in.
Okay.
However, this year, me and my fellow Army UC, Bianca Hayden, we were pretty adamant, like, hey, are you sure we can't do a team sport? And we kind of twisted Team Army's arm a little bit. So thank you for that. Also, Team Army, they allowed us to pick a sport and try out and be in one.
Okay.
So I picked and tried out for rugby, and I made the rugby team, and Bianca Hayden picked and tried out for volleyball. So she's out there right now.
Awesome. In the short time I've gotten to know you, wheelchair rugby feels like it's right up your alley. Like that sport's not for the faint of heart. The strong, but how was that competing? Was it everything that you hoped it would be?
Oh yes. Team Army, we definitely came together. We had a narrow loss from the gold medal, so we took silver, but it's very competitive. I love it. That's probably the closest I feel I would get to playing tackle football again and getting, the hits and aggression. And it's incredibly awesome to see that you can kind of adapt a physical sport and still get to play sports just in a different realm, slightly different adaptations.
Yeah, I was watching the final. You guys were right in it till like a minute to go, and when SOCOM scored and made it a 4-point game, I'm like, that might be it. But that was as epic of a match or an event that we have had all week. So thank you to you and your teammates for putting on certainly a great show. Even though you are competing mostly as an individual, have you found that you enjoy, just even though it's one event, the team aspect more maybe than being out there, kind of quote unquote by yourself? I know there are other members of Team Army competing, but did you enjoy the team aspect maybe as much as you've enjoyed kind of being the star in these individual events?
I would definitely say so. I don't want to say I have a favorite or not favorite medal, but the medal that stands out the most to me when I try to jog back from the 10 so far is actually my bronze medal. Bronze medal in rowing. So we had a strong female 14 for the rowing team, and one of my teammates, very strong competitor, Kira, Captain Maggio, she unfortunately did her 4-minute row and wasn't feeling well after. So we had to scratch her, and then we also had to scratch Captain Fry, Samantha from it as well. So last minute, we had to scramble and pick up 2 extra additional individuals. So we picked up a Major Jeremy as well as Bianca Hayden in like last second. And we went out there and we kind of jumbled together a team. And we're the only team that had the one-arm rower, which is Major Jeremy Devilton. And we all were just talking to each other on the rower. And we're like, hey, this is bigger than ourselves. This is for Team Army. This is for us being a little put together hodgepodge team. So I wish we could see our splits for that because I 100% feel that my time on the team was faster than my single medal individual time.
Yeah. Now I could see that, and that atmosphere was amazing. I mean, how much do you feed off the crowd that's here, whether they're wearing Army colors or wearing Air Force or Marine Corps? How much do you feed off of the crowd that's been here this week?
Oh, I feed off the crowd 100%. My 200-meter race, especially in track, I was second place, tied neck and neck with a Navy runner, and a Navy coach was yelling at the runner to pump her arms more to beat me at the last. And I was like, and Navy was just so hype and yelling at her. And I was like, oh, you want her to pump her arm? I'm going to pump my arm. So I started pumping. And I was like, oh, this is working. I was getting separation. So I just started pumping faster and faster. And I edged her out for silver. And it was just encouraging because I'm like, you guys are thriving for your teammate. And it's really feeding me. So that was really cool.
And you looked over and pointed and said, thanks, coach. Man, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You mentioned did you know anybody on Team Army before you arrived here?
Before I arrived here, yes, thankfully, like I said, I went to an intro to adaptive sports camp.
Okay.
And there I met a lot of individuals. I say maybe about 35, 40% of the team that made Team Army was at that camp. And then I met about 90% of the team when they came down for trials. Unfortunately, some individuals weren't able to go to those for the trials. So there's like only probably 2 or 3 that I didn't actually meet at trials. And then we met them here. We came earlier to kind of acclimate and come together as Team Army before the actual game started.
You know, in the acclimation process, I would imagine it's a little bit easier for you coming from Albuquerque. I mean, yeah, I would think so. So you came in and you were looking around like Colorado Springs, 6,000 feet, whatever, right? Well, it's certainly shown with all your success, and I think there's a big prize coming at the end. I don't know where the UC standings are, but I think you might be getting some extra recognition before we're done here at the Warrior Games. Captain Shonda Mitchell, thank you for stopping by and sharing your story, and congratulations on all your success, and more importantly, congratulations on your recovery. I know it's an ongoing process, but congratulations on it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to come and do this, and represent Team Army and the UCs here. So thank you so much.
It is my pleasure. And she let me hold a medal. So that was one of the highlights of the week. The closest I'm ever going to get to any kind of medal in a sporting competition. Captain Shonda Mitchell, my guest here on Drive Time Sports. We'll take a break and have more from the DoD Warrior Games right after this on Extra Sports 1300. tomorrow night to be more exact. It'll be Christmas in July at Widener Field as the Switchbacks take on Texoma FC in the final match of the group stage of the Jägermeister Cup. Make sure you're there at 6 p.m. as the first fans through the gates will get a limited edition Switchbacks rally towel provided by the Independence Center, and then stick around after the match for a very special Christmas fireworks display. Get your tickets now at switchbacksfc.com. Once again, appreciate Captain Shonda Mitchell joining me. Certainly in great shape. I don't know, as I mentioned during that interview, I don't know what the standings look like in Ultimate Champion, but 10 medals, I can't imagine that she is too far behind, if at all, for being named the Warrior Games Ultimate Champion. So appreciate her joining me and appreciate her sharing her story. Honor, can you imagine, she suffers an injury while in Syria, and she was telling me about it off air that she had to have multiple vertebrae, fused, and her recovery in that, and it's going decently well, and then you lose your sister, and she just was the nicest person and super upbeat and smiling the whole time, as those of you watching on the stream saw. Just an amazing story of resilience in so many ways. Shonda Mitchell, and again, she let me again hold one of her medals. I think Ray, who's my on-site producer today, will be posting that on social media. I was not allowed to have one of the golds. I could only hold silver per Captain Mitchell. I'm kidding. She just randomly gave me silver. But that was awesome. Our next guest is going to be joining me in less than 10 minutes, and she has been a star at these games so far, like Captain Mitchell has been. So I'm looking forward to being joined by Kayla Saska of Team Navy here at the bottom of the hour. In the meantime, this is significant news, not necessarily the players that it involves, but just the fact that the Rockies have done something that normal baseball teams do. That in itself is a story. But what they have done today is trade Ryan McMahon to the New York Yankees for a couple of minor league pitchers, Griffin Herring and Josh Gross. Now, I'm catching up and trying to figure out how good Herring and Gross are. I would imagine that this return for the Rockies is not as good as it would have been had they made this decision before. But last year, perhaps, or the year before, Ryan McMahon's numbers have dipped a little bit in the last few years, but the wheels of progress turn slowly. But the Rockies do the right thing here. They have a player that is not going to be a part of their next good team when they can realistically believe that they're going to be halfway decent. Ryan McMahon is not going to be a part of this team one way or another. He's got 2 years left on his current contract. So the Rockies aren't turning it around in 2 years. And now you have, I can't help but think of Ethan Holiday as a part of, you look at the timeline that Ethan is on. If it's anything like Jackson, his older brother that plays for the Orioles, we're talking a couple of years, and then Ethan Holiday is going to be ready to play for the Rockies. And they expect to have Ezekiel Tovar at shortstop, which is Ethan's natural position. A natural move for him, though, if Tovar's still there, is to move over to third. So I think there is part of this is Ethan Holiday related, but this is what we have been asking the Rockies to do for many a player for many a year. If there is a player that is in his prime and you can get something for him, get something for him, because you can't reasonably expect Ryan McMahon to still be in his prime in a few years from now, and he's just blocking a player like Ethan Holiday, who the organization just gave the biggest signing bonus in the history of, or at least in this era of the MLB draft, to a high school player. So the Rockies are certainly doing some things looking forward and thinking about what they're going to be in a few years from now rather than what they are right now. And that is something that they have not done recently, right? They've held on to these players. You think of Trevor Story and John Gray. They held on to them to the very end. They held on to them until they were free agents, and they took only compensatory picks back. They didn't even get actual minor league players in exchange for either one of these guys. So if you have a chance to trade somebody, you do it. And this is a seller's market, what is emerging in Major League Baseball because of the additional wild card. There are so many teams in baseball that don't feel like they're out of it and aren't going to sell by July 31st. So if your team, a team like the Rockies, who is clearly completely out of it, you have a chance to drive up the price a little bit. And we'll find out more about Griffin Herring and Josh Gross, but they are both pitchers, which I think is the right position for the Rockies to bring back in a trade. But the Rockies have an opportunity here to unload some of these players. And I would look at, like, the next one. I've seen a lot of conversation recently about Mickey Moniak. And we have one of these every year for the Rockies, right? You think back to Michael Kadire or Justin Morneau. Like, almost every year the Rockies give one of these retreads, a retread that has had a history of being good or at least highly touted. Mickey Moniak is a top draft pick at one time. But you bring in these guys, and kind of like the Avalanche have done with Valeri Nichushkin and some of these other players, Andre Burakovsky, that they've been able to bring in, former first-round picks that really haven't hit where they were. Avalanche bring them in, build them up, and they become a key member of their team. Well, for the Rockies, because they play at 20th and Blake, they're able to bring either guys like Morneau and Kadire, who are kind of on the back end of their career, past their prime, and giving them an extra couple of years of productivity. Or in the case of a Mickey Moniak, somebody who has been a disappointment as a top draft pick, they bring him in. He gets to play some games at Coors Field, and his home road splits aren't insane, certainly. So he hasn't been completely a byproduct of Coors Field, but it's helped a little bit. And you have him slugging. And I see a lot of conversation right now about, oh, the Rockies need to pay Mickey Moniak. No. They have it wrong. You go out and see what you can get for Mickey Moniak. You can see if other teams believe he is merely a byproduct of Coors Field. And if they don't believe that, if they look at the home road splits and they say, you know what, there's something there, you trade him. You don't want to hang on to these kind of guys. You want to trade them and get something for them. We're moving back the timeline here for the Colorado Rockies. Now with the drafting of Ethan Holiday, everything is about Ethan Holiday's timeline. Who's going to be around when Ethan's ready to break into the major leagues? Who do we want to come through the minor league system with him on their way to Coors Field? The Rockies have to start thinking of it. And I don't even know that, even though Mickey Moniak's pretty young, still, I don't know if he's going to be that. Now, it's a nice story and certainly a way to somewhat distract you from the reality of what the Rockies are right now. But this happens. And the Rockies have shown that they don't get anything for these guys either, because they hang on to them with that exact same thought process. Oh, we'll keep them around because clearly we found something. And then a year, 2 years down the road, you realize, oh, no, it was a slight inflation of the numbers year one at Coors Field. And then we you bet on it, you pushed it, and then Mickey Moniak starts to struggle, as we have seen these other players do, and it becomes somewhat fool's gold, and then the Rockies don't get anything in return. So you're going to see Mickey Moniak's name pop up a little bit more on a local level than a national. I think nationally, Herman Marquez, do the Rockies move him? What about some of their bullpen? But locally, I've seen some headlines about, oh, you got to pay Mickey Moniak. They found something in him. You've watched enough Rockies baseball. I've watched enough Rockies baseball to know if you get something, if you are able to catch lightning in a bottle for a half a season, a full season, you cash that in. You cash that in and you see if you can get young prospects, a proven young prospect to bring through and to kind of move the timeline back a little bit. So we'll see what other business the Rockies attend to between now and the trade deadline next week. But in the meantime, probably their biggest move, their most significant move, trading Ryan McMahon to the Yankees in exchange for minor league pitchers Griffin Herring and Josh Gross. And the Ryan McMahon side of this, think about him with that short porch in right field. I think the happiest guy today is Ryan McMahon, not because just he's getting out of a losing situation and going to a winning one, but he's going to a ballpark that in a different way is going to suit him very well. He's going to hit some bombs out to right field at the new Yankee Stadium. So don't shed a tear for Ryan McMahon. He'll be just fine. Good pickup for the Yankees. 719-247-1313. Coming up next, we'll have our next guest from the DoD Warrior Games here on the campus of Colorado College. You're listening to Extra Sports 1300. Welcome back, Drive Time Sports, live from the Department of Defense Warrior Games. And as I've been here throughout the week, there's been one name that keeps coming up. Have you talked to Sass yet? Are you going to get Sass on the show? Well, Kayla Saska, a.k.a. Sass, has been kind enough to join me on this Friday. It is a pleasure to meet you, and your reputation precedes you in the best way possible. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about this event because you have a unique perspective, being that this is your third Warrior Games. What keeps you coming back to an event like this?
Probably the teammates and the memories that you get because like sports will come and go, events will come and go, like the friendships, the camaraderie, the forever family that you meet and that you make, and then the memories that you have with them. Like metal will fade, metal will dissolve, it'll go away, but friends and like family, like they're forever. So having them build is
and you were one of the co-captains of Team Navy. So, without the moniker, I suppose, without the title, do you find that your teammates are kind of coming to you and like trying to lean on you a little bit for what to expect, especially those that are competing in their first sport?
a little bit, sure. And then like it's kind of no, I realized like it's really great to actually be able to give back what I got like the first year. Because you see the veterans, you see the returnees, you see like the mentorship, and then they get to explain to you like what to expect. They give you advice in sports, and then some of these sports like I've never touched wheelchair sports in my life. And so when you get out of like for me, I was in and out of wheelchair for like a year and a half, 2 years, surgeries, and then to get to okay, incorporate the sports to the recovery, and then just to say like, hey, get back in the wheelchair. You're like, well, no, it's like it's healing, it's growing, it's things you can do rather than you can't do. And then to get to like the team camps and like my first camp meeting the returnees and the vets, they sat there, they were like, hey, look at this as like a new experience. Again, like what you're able to do, not what you're not able to do. So to be able to give that back to what I would do, it's like a what you should do. It's just like that's like just creating that bridge and like that kind of space to where an athlete doesn't feel left out, doesn't feel gone, doesn't feel like they're not supposed to be there.
Were you at all hesitant about when they came to you and said, "Hey, adaptive sports like this is a legitimate like way to help your recovery"? And I could see the smile on your face. At first, you're like, "Wait, what?"
Oh no, I kind of smirked because again, like you're in wheelchairs, and then I was out of the wheelchair, I was out of the wheelchair. I told my friends and family, it's like, hey, this like the Matson Clinic in they have a lot of amputees and spinal cord injuries, and it's a bunch of like wounded warriors helping out each other. And one of the guys was like, oh, I'm going to this camp. It was the camp. I'm going, and he was a Marine people regiment. And then I was like, I'm going to the Navy. I was like, oh, okay, you should try out the wheelchair sports.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not how, I was like, isn't that for like amputees and spinal cord injuries? Like, it's their sport. They're like, well, no, it's adapting the sports to what you can do. It depends on what you're able to do and what you're not able to do, and then you go from there. And then I got to camp, and I remember like my coaches that are now good friends of mine. And then I play like basketball like outside of their game because I have pictures that I'll cherish forever. Like my first time in the wheelchair, and at first you like see like all of our faces, and I'm looking at them. I'm just, I mean, the wheelchair, like I'm not gonna move fast at all. And then like the next 2 minutes, it was just smiles across my face, and I was just like, how do I do this? And then 3 more months, we found out about other sports and like warrior games and stuff. And my coach was like, hey, I actually see you have a passion for this. So how about we figure out how to get you in a chair, you know, and then I just took off from there. So it's just you hesitate and then you like kind of like accept it and then it opens like a door.
Do you think you would be here at this stage of your recovery feeling the way you are now without adaptive sport? Had you kind of looked back on all of this, do you think that you would be where you are if you hadn't had kind of this to help you along?
No, and like prior to me getting hurt, having my injury overseas, and I got sent back stateside, and then I got sent to Detroit, and it was a crazy timeline for all of it to happen. And they sat there and they were like, "Okay, we need to move to Detroit. You have a week to move." So on Monday, I got to move by Friday. Going to the surgery, 728 square foot apartment.
had, it was like a camp chair that I had from like hunting camp, and then like a little bucket, like my leg popped up and like my knee raised, and I was just like, okay, this is what it's gonna look like. And then when my RCC and them started incorporating, like, hey, you're gonna go to this clinic, Matt's clinic, or like clinic, today I'm not sports. So I was like, okay, I don't know what that is. And then I went home and I had a phone call from a neighborhood lawyer at like RCC, care coordinator, and they were like, hey, try not to sports. I was like, what? Give it to the guys who need it, who are like, respectfully like who have gone, like I had friends who have like body triple amps, double amps, and like I was like, well, that's for them. Like if you're here, like to me that was for them. And then I had my senior chief mentor come back, and I was like, hey, he called me, Dad. I was like, you're gonna listen to me. I need to open your mind. I just want you to think about it. Facebook's before, it's gonna be a little bit different. You'll figure it out. And I would say like I'm a very like positive and smiling person overall. But I remember that week was like one of the roughest weeks I've ever had because it was just like me alone in my apartment. I had no right here, and then you're just like, okay, I got to figure this out. And then it's talking about recovery and appointments and your mission and like your job. So just get better. But then I wasn't getting better physically, yes. But then I went to like my first scan and it was like infection. And then you sit there like, okay, well if I didn't answer the phone, or if I didn't answer, or if I didn't meet that one person, or if I didn't connect with this person and sit in the chair, I wouldn't be here. That light, like my dad talks about, like, you don't let your light go out, like this to go out, and it was it really did. Not the person that got it. And at that time, I was like, I got it.
Yes.
All of it, and now it's burning. It's brightest, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah. Kayla Saska, my guest, representing Team Navy. She's one of the co-captain. How would you assess your team's performance this week?
Oh, I'm so proud of them. The guys and gals that never tried any sports in their lives. Nothing like that. And I mean sports. Some people never tried football, never played any competitive sport. Some people are single individual sports, like wrestlers. Like one of our teammates, Kayla, she's like, I only wrestle. I've done two sports. So trying to teach them to like open your mind, your eyes, just try it. If you don't like it, you get the walk out. You say try it. But that regret of not trying it, regret of being like, okay, I don't want to do it. It's getting so to see like one of our friends that's trying to I guess swings, and then she's shooting archery with her mouth, and now with the arms, and then she gets to the final round. She's getting eliminated. So it's like a proud moment. It's like your brothers and sisters, it's your family. So it's like being proud. And then like getting emotional. You're just like, okay, I'm so proud. It's, again, like, okay, that's how my friends feel. So like, it's just like a big old support.
You know, when you were telling me that just now, it sounds like you describing Kayla when they came to you and said you should do these sports. And you're like, no, I've never done this before. So I'm sure that irony has not been lost on you.
No, it has not.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny. And even my senior chief got me involved and that made me pick up. He's ironically, because the world is crazy and God is great. He was there on the ship with me, but I had to go into my accident. And he was brought over to like brought my stateside. I was there as a first and then he got me involved with the Dutch sports, and I still talk to him and his family today. And he's like congratulating me, like that's how he that's what the family's doing. So to sit there and be like, okay, if I didn't pick up that phone, like I wouldn't be here. Like if I didn't do what he and like countless other guys and like mentors have done, then they wouldn't be there. It's just like kind of giving back what you're given and then just passing on like the help positive like guidance.
For sure. How many people do you have here?
Oh, well, I had 3. They actually left this morning, just some scheduling stuff. But I had one of my sisters, Patty, my brother, Kane, and then one of my nieces, Crystal. All 3 of them came. And Crystal, my niece, and my brother had never seen a sports competition like this. So to talk about it, to send them pictures and videos, they're like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then to be here and like be on the court, and, like I hear like crowd and stuff, and then I get to hear like my brother scream because like I fell in rugby, and he's like. And it's like, oh, that's my brother. Okay, there we go. So it was just cool to have them actually see it rather than like hearing my stories.
Yeah. And look, you're doing this for yourself in many ways. You're doing this for your, fellow Team Navy teammates and everybody who's competing here. But to be able to show, I'm sure your family looks up to you for what you sacrificed and given to the family in this country. But to be able to kind of show them that you're competing and not just competing, winning a lot. I mean, how do you get a little bit more out of it having them, see you in this?
Yes. It's kind of like a infectious thing. And like they said, they were like smiling and laughing, and they were like, "Hey, this is gonna be cool to watch." And then like at Precision Air, like I'll say like for example, like Precision Air, they were there to see me shoot, and then like after every shot, like I could hear my brother and my sister smile or like say like yes, or like I had like 1 point off or like a 9, something like a 10, 8. I'm like, crap. So then my brother would be like, "It's 10." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that's my brother." So it's like okay, and then like welcoming party that welcomes families, it's pictures and stuff like that. And my Gia is a picture of like my family, and like family. And she was like, "Hey, your family's fast family's here, and she really want to give you a hard time."
Yeah, that's good. Sass joining me, Kayla Sasko, Team Navy here on Drive Time Sports. So let's talk about how you performed. I know the field events went very well for you. You got gold in both the shot put and the discus. So where's the medal count for this Warrior Games? Because just to embarrass Sass a little bit, she was asked before we went on air how many medals she has won total at the Warrior Games, and she has so many that she couldn't count them.
I don't remember them off the top of my head, truthfully. But
how many here at this Warrior?
Right now, 4.
Okay. Yeah.
So one is in shot put, one is in discus, my categories, and then I got 2 in precision air.
I was just curious, what's the difference between the two precision air events that you did?
Yes. So one tests your patience really well. The other one is fun. No, it's actually rifle prone and then rifle standing. So prone is pretty much you are leaning against the table, both arms holding the gun, like holding the rifle. And you have like it's almost like you're standing shooting at this tiny little target that's however many meters away. And then rifle standing is technically supposed to be you're standing up and kind of bracing the gun against your body, and it's like if you breathe, it moves. If you blink, it moves. If you yawn, it moves. If your leg touches, it moves. But due to my concentration and stuff, I was right standing, but assisted. So I sat down, and then I just had to like lift it off the table before I just sit here while trying to balance it.
Sounds rewarding, but it sounds like a little bit difficult. Like I could see the other one, it seems like that was in your zone, and this one you got to work a little bit on, right?
Yes. Grew up hunting, fishing, and shooting. And my dad was like raised us to like know everything to make sure that we can take care of ourselves. And so the rifle prone was truthfully I love it, and I was like, okay, this is cake. Respectfully, I love it too much. And like I had brothers growing up, so always trying to beat them. Like just came in handy. The rifle standing. That was actually my second time ever touched the rifle standing like that. And my coach, Six Killer, he's like one of our newer coaches for rifle. He sat there and was like, "Hey, I'm going to teach you how to shoot. Just figure it out." I was like, "Okay." So the sight-in was like the second time. I think qualifications was like the second time I ever like truly shot it like that. And then to just do what my coach did, and then have them to like kind of instill whatever wisdom and coaching that they can give us, and then be able to perform with that, and then also just like taking the time to like get the breath work, understand that like it's mostly you and your breath work, you take it what coach told you to do, and then you have to do it. If you don't, but just doing the best you can. And then to do that, and I was like, okay, I'll walk away with like 2 10s, like out of like, scores like 1 to 10, 9 is the highest score, and I was like, okay, I should like 110. And then I shot like 6, I think. And I was just like, coach. And he's like, nope, don't change anything. Look at me. Don't. Just sit there and shoot.
You're not superstitious, but like on the office, you may be a little stitious.
Just a little.
Yeah, a little. one thing that I wanted to ask you about, because I haven't spoken to many athletes this week that have been able to go on and compete at the Invictus Games, which many of, just for people listening, some of the people you see here will be competing in an Invictus Games at some point. Here, you're still representing the Navy, you're representing your family, you're representing your country in many ways, but it's a domestic, competition. Going over there, and now you're going up against somebody from, Great Britain's Navy. And I mean, how much more, what level does your pride in that competitive fire go to when you see a different flag than the United States next to you?
Oh, it's that's not even that's not humbling is the right word. It is. It just fills your soul because you wear your uniform. Like I wear like the Navy uniform, but it has the American flag. And then here it is all the branches against each other. So same flag, just different colored uniforms. So when you get retired or when you're active duty, like for me, I was active duty when I went. But for like the retirees, they're no longer wearing the Navy uniform, like it's still embedded in them, or like the Marine uniform. This is all of us under the same uniform with the same flag with USA still. And you're just like, okay, instead of like competing as brothers and sisters, you're like competing with brothers and sisters. And you get to see that on like a global scale to where like the countries you see like smiley faces and like maybe even like some frowns and like nervousness. And then they're like, oh, we're all human. We're all the same. And you just like expose yourself to like all of this on like a global scale. And then it just kind of like doesn't it humbles you to like say like, okay, there's more out there, like more of us out there. And then you just open like networks and you talk to each other. Like I helped out like my British friends to like British contacts that I met at an Invictus just because they were like, oh, I coach rugby. And then they're like, well, how do I get involved? I was like, oh, well, here's the number. And they're like, how do you know this person? I was like, no, 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
And it opens doors. And you feel prideful to represent your country in a different uniform, but like alongside the guy that you just beat the crap out of in like wheelchair rugby or wheelchair basketball. So it's like all people.
Yeah, and in that way, in wheelchair rugby, you do beat the crap out of each other. That is the sport. And if people have been listening all week, they're tired of me talking about it. But like, I'm blown away by everything that I see. But wheelchair rugby is like on another level. And that's what I was told initially. Someone from SOCOM team.
You're talking about tiny.
Yeah, tiny. Tiny. Yes. And talking about you and stuff, but that's not a sport for the faint of heart, for sure.
Yes, it's infectious. And then again, I first came to coach rugby. I got into my chair and I was like, well, this is fast. And my coaches at the time were the Air Force coach actually, which ended up being my Invictus coach for rugby, and then my Navy coach. And I got in the chair, and then I just saw the grin on like the coach, like strike shakes face. That's hard. I was like, that's Springs fan. I was like, what's wrong? They were like, no, this is nice enough. And then like they teach you. And then in basketball, you taught like not to people in the chair, control stuff, and almost like a beautiful dance in a chair. But then in rugby, you're taught like beat the crap out of him, like get the ball, like protect the ball. And so competing against like guys like the size of tiny, more guys and gals like the size of me or like smaller. It doesn't matter like how big you are. Like I learned that real fast. But like I was super tiny compared to a couple guys on our team. And then like we scrimmaged. And then I was like, oh, there's a guy. You're actually on the ground and I don't. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then like humbling people is kind of nice as well. But like it's just the competitive aspect of it. And it's like actually I think it's life. So like culture rugby is like, okay, all that anger or just like competitiveness you have, you can pull that forward and use that day.
And it was amazing to watch, certainly throughout the week. Kayla Saska, aka Sass, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was awesome.
Yeah, that is Kayla Saska once again, 14 Navy. We'll take a break and have more Drive Time Sports from the DoD Warrior Games right after this on Extra Sports 1300. Arena where the Tigers play hoops. And right now, sitting volleyball is going on. I guess since I don't have a guest, I can scoot over a little bit more into the camera on the live stream. By the way, we are streaming the show live, so you're able to watch my interview with Captain Mitchell from Team Army and Kayla Saska from Team Navy. Both were phenomenal, and both have been two of the more talked about athletes throughout the week here in Colorado Springs, and for good reason. Both of them have been incredibly successful this week, and then Captain Mitchell might be named ultimate champion for the DoD Warrior Games. But sitting volleyball is going on right now in Reed Arena, and you can't hear it on the broadcast, but we can hear it here in the hallway, just how nuts it is in there. That place is filled up, and everybody in there is super loud. They got two matches going on at the same time. And yeah, they've been highly competitive as well. Ray Dominguez, my producer on site here, came out and told me that Air Force and Army's match was quite tight. I don't know how that one ended up. We'll find that out. But sitting volleyball is going on right now. It is the event of the afternoon. In the evening, it's going to be going for a while. So if you want to drop by, feel free to do so. You will not regret it. It's awesome to watch. And we'll just continue on with guests. We have a member of Team Army that's coming up in just a little bit to join us. I believe he just got done playing volleyball, so we'll get the results straight from one of the competitors here coming up in a little bit. Right now, Broncos training camp, we are now officially past the acclimation practices. No more acclimation practices. These are for real practices, or non-acclimating practices. Sean Payton speaking today. One subject that did come up, I don't think he leads with this, but Mike McGlinchey has missed a couple of days, and nobody has really said anything to the media, which is not totally surprising, but it leaves us all in the dark of why Mike McGlinchey spoke on day one, and he hasn't been out of practice the last 2 days. Sean Payton will broach that subject, but here's the Broncos head coach earlier this afternoon out at Broncos training.
It will be, but I haven't actually sat down. Yeah.
Welcome back, Drive Time Sports, live at the Department of Defense Warrior Games here at the campus of Colorado College. Ryan Kaufman now joined by Master Sergeant Mike Haley, who is on Team SOCOM here at the Warrior Games. Pleasure to have you, sir. How has it been this week?
It's been awesome, but in all the good ways. Getting to do a little bit of everything. That makes it.
Yeah, and you know, some athletes are doing only a couple of sports. Some are doing as many as they can for the UC. Why? I guess part of it is, hey, if I'm going to be out here, I might as well do everything. But why are you loading up on all the events this week?
So a lot of things when it comes to the UC were expected, and will only be graded points based off certain points.
Okay.
And I actually wanted to use somebody who spinal cord injury, paralysis, I don't move the way I used to, and I was taken away from it. So can agreed to, and they actually had to agree on this one, but they asked what I wanted to be able to do. And I said I would like to also do this. So I like to do additional events at each one of the sports beyond just what and using actually the entire theme this year so to what I asked.
And you've certainly proven that because you have been one of, as I've been milling around, you've been one of the more talked about athletes with your exploit this week, but more so, yes, but more so, but for the very same reason that you're saying, like they're looking at you and like people know that you're competing in everything. They see you at every event, and they're seeing you compete and seeing that you're limitless. So I'm saying that to tell you, I think you're accomplishing your goal here.
I had called it about 90% complete before this morning. And even making it to any of the top stuff on your worst days. We're all tired. We're probably all getting very little sleep. Especially for me, where I did do the evening events as well as all the early mornings and despite the level of exhaustion, I still showed up. I'm still reaching far into the top areas, whether it's the completion, one of those, or if it was just competing against the best that military has to offer after they've been really injured. And there have been so like even this morning, Matt T. I got to compete against him already, and I already talked about this one. It was a really funny situation that after we finished pistol qualification, he turns around at me and says, "All right, this is a dom," and that's what we did. But we also got to go and shoot holes. And it's just respect between me and him. That there was, hey, what do you think this score is? I am going to tell you yours of what you think that this is because we both knew not one of us is going to try to do something because that's a lot of the thing of what we're doing here, even though the medals are fantastically showing and being able to actually have a hard set numbers for exactly what the results were. It's less of a point of the cuff. It's less of a point of
Were you naturally growing up?
I swam competitively. That was something I did from somewhere age 7 until about 10. I stopped for a few years. I did it once in high school. I was in a to succeed in high school. I did it for a couple of years before I joined the Army at the age of 17. So
You got it right away.
I graduated high school and 2 weeks later I was but I also did some of the physical fitness type events that those programs provide, as well as actually their program. So I got to do that at least a little bit before I joined them.
So you understand being a competitor growing up, the power of sports, but did you understand that sports could be used in the way it's being used here at the Warrior Games to be a key piece of the recovery of these servicemen and women? Did you think that sport could have that impact for you and for so many?
You know, probably not in the way that it is. I didn't do as many team sports. I swam, that's an individual sport. I've seen people that when they get into music, they just think they can do this, but you see it. That's something I don't know. As well as those that just need the achievements that they can get shows them where they are progressing. Did you get better from yesterday? Did you get better from yesterday? That's a question I can ask a lot of the athletes. I actually place that with the event, I also try to make sure well,
Sure.
so
Right.
I guess
It's not us versus them. It's like you're all of these teams mixed into one. They're all your team.
that's the way I feel. Especially for this created this is helping members come out of big tricks that I actually enjoy. Like I feel like myself into being a coach. I actually went to the US country, went and did the courses, so that way I could officially be able to help.
Right. You gotta get certified.
Gotta get certified, because otherwise it don't count, right? Now the people that have been able to try to help us, that was something I lost. Out of a lot of other things that I was able to do, I really enjoyed actually raising the connection. I love doing that. It was time as a squad leader, I was able to those that for me to be who I thought it was. That's actually I was able to find a passion to work and to those to try to be
That's amazing. Haley, my guest. So before I let you go, I have spent an inordinate amount of time watching your wheelchair rugby. And I have described your wheelchair rugby team as a wagon. You guys were a wagon. You were a force. And credit to Army. They gave you guys all you could handle in that gold medal match. But did you know when you guys got together, you're like, I think we got some dudes here. I think we're going to be able to do just fine this week. What's your
Absolutely. Actually, so one of, I'm sure, when we got together only for a few times. The first time, actually, I would say. The guys in the team to see how fast it was. They immediately went, "Oh crap, that's how fast we have to be." They were striving. That was actually, like I said, I helped where I come.
right?
But I didn't ask them. They just saw it. They saw that as this is the standard. This is what I need to try to. Despite that, I actually did go and rewatch the rugby game. And I had a little bit of time last night. Watched the rugby game.
Yeah.
I do not agree completely sometimes with what the announcers were saying here because I actually have nothing against JP, nothing whatsoever. I was asked. Okay, I was actually told to. That was a coaching decision, not mine. But my coach also allowed for me to have a little bit of flexibility. When I saw opportunities, when I wanted to change how we were reading my calls, and that's actually a lot. It was that game was not. It was about it was about trying to get them to enjoy it. That's why I spent a lot more time with customers because I could try to get some of them to be the ones to take the lead. And I would just try to ram everybody else. I could do that, catch up with them if I had to. Honestly, actually, and the feeling the first win for so history was made at this point. So the first time getting into the golden medal match for basketball. So it's the first. We got to the gold medal match for rugby. Never being part of it.
It was amazing to watch you guys, and I could see once that final buzzer went off how elated you all were that you had accomplished what you accomplished. And Team SOCOM has had a very good week here, and Master Sergeant Mike Haley is a big reason why. This was a pleasure, sir. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for what you're doing out here this week. Thanks for what you've done, and enjoy the rest of your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is Master Sergeant Haley joining us here on Drive Time Sports. We'll be back to the Warrior games right after this on Extra Sports 13. Welcome back, Drive Time Sports, live from the 2025 Department of Defense Warrior Games here on the campus of Colorado College. Ryan Kaufman, joined by a member of Team Army. He is Staff Sergeant Tyler Pollard, the pride of Edenton, North Carolina. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
It is my pleasure. So it's the casual greeting, but it's also legitimately, how are you doing? Those who are watching on the stream get to see you're a little wrapped up. What?
Yeah, so on Tuesday, I took the rotator cuff, the field. I a shot leg. It just felt a big pop. It was burning. Shoulder blade. It's really hurt this time of year. And, I really took a different mental approach at it. Our games really worked into me. One of those first stuff with this injury.
But how much of an adjustment did you have to make?
A little bit of adjustment.
Yeah.
Had to dance a little bit. A lot more ice than I wanted. I mean, everything is like a mental state of mind. The pain's gonna be there. The pain's always gonna be there.
Yeah, and how much everyone has their kind of why, right? Just talking with Mike, he has different motivations than maybe some of the other athletes I talk to. For you, what is this about? Is this, about showing the people in the stands where you're capable of? Is it about proving something to yourself and teammates? Is it all of the above? I mean, what are you getting at?
Yeah, so it's a little bit all of the above.
Yeah.
What I really wanted to show for me was, for long still
Yeah, and you've done a great job of it so far. How did the match end up? It was epic in there between you guys and Air Force, right? How did that?
Yeah, it was pretty solid.
Yeah. So what's the schedule like for you the rest of the evening? Right? You gotta get that prep off of you and get back out there. Yeah. Yeah. Worth it. Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. No, it's talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Where is it, by the way? Where's the
Tracking.
okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. What have you picked out the spot that you're gonna display them?
Yeah, so we got a 45 from my grandfather. So I have Syria.
That's amazing. Staff Sergeant Tyler Pollard, my guest, joining me from Team Army. So, did you play many sports growing up?
Yeah, so I was a three-sport athlete growing up. Baseball, basketball, football. I kind of started putting it down a little bit. I was a little vertical challenged. So it was tough growing up. I was a small school team, but it wasn't a great team. It was kids. having great parents bringing me up saying, hey, you just never show up. They can't play. So, it's a great opportunity just to kind of come out here, even though we're small, right? It's an opportunity to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even though it's all in services,
Right.
we're still competition.
Absolutely. Which, by the way, Tyler, I love to hear it because I've been trying to prod every athlete I've brought through. Like, what team are you most looking forward to beating? Which one gets your juices flowing a little bit? Nobody's taking the bait. Like, you understand it. It's part of it, but it's all, you're all here pulling in the same direction. You're all teammates in a much more important way. But I do appreciate you saying, you know what, I'm here to compete and win a little bit, which you have.
No counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it, you just for you.
I think some of your teammates may have felt that way because I was just talking to Mike about this. That wheelchair rugby was like that entire sport is at another level of intensity. Your match against them was another step above that. Like it had a lot on it, and it was phenomenal. I know it didn't break the way that you guys wanted to, but man, that was terrific theater the other night there at Rose.
I train coach there. Last game,
I did think to your point about having the scouting report. I had watched. That's my plus five right now. I've watched. They do the two screens right by the end line. They do those two screens. You know this. You're nodding your head. And Mike goes right around. You guys had that. You guys handled that better than some of the teams earlier. And there was a match earlier. SoCon just ran that play. And it worked. You guys, it didn't work quite as well.
Yeah,
You guys had it figured out.
yeah, we always told her, we used to English to cut them off. Stop Mike. Mike's the phone, we have to stop him. He pushed through the lot. I was just talking to him. It's not that's a lot.
This growing up as an athlete, I can hear from you, you're a high level competitor. Did you think that your love of sport, your competitive nature that kind of manifested itself through sports growing up, did you think that it would play the role it has in your recovery the way this is? Because this is really what the Warrior Games are about, right? It's helping everyone along there. Did you think sports could kind of be that for you?
So funny story. I came back from Syria. just leave me alone. You were there and I was there. He saved me. He got me back into sports. He got me in the virtual. He got me in the wheelchair medicine. He knew what I was cut. He wanted me to succeed. Got out of the military. He said, so you gotta answer the question. I didn't think I was going to get this. But I mean, it did. Everybody starts off.
Well, I'm glad that you, first and foremost, and certainly you've had a terrific week here. Unfortunate the injury, but I'm sure that that will be right in no time, and we'll see it next time around here at the Warrior Games, or maybe Victus competing there as well. Tyler, this was a pleasure, man, and thanks for dropping by, and congratulations on the week that you. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Staff Sergeant Tyler Pollard representing Team Army. Now he's got to go get his rotator cuff fixed. We'll take a break real quick. Come back and wrap up the hour after this on Extra. My thanks to Staff Sergeant Tyler Pollard for being my guest. Also, Mike Haley from Team SOCOM. And both of them competed. It was kind of, it encapsulated what this event is about, because before Tyler joined me, he was talking to Mike. And those two just, well, throughout the week, but especially, last night, they're locked in, or 2 nights ago, excuse me, they're locked in one of the most contentious matches of wheelchair rugby I've ever seen. And then here, just a couple of days later, they're talking to each other and making plans to get together later this evening. And it's just, it gives you an idea. There's so many levels to this event. And that's why I asked Tyler the question, like, what do you get out of it? Because some people, they do want to get the medals, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we all want to achieve something and have something tangible to show our level of achievement. But you have Mike talking about how much more he's gotten out of mentoring the younger athletes or the less experienced athletes, and you have Tyler talking about the people that he's served with over in Syria, and he competing for them. And then, at the beginning of the show, we had Shanda Mitchell from Team Army talking about playing for her sister that recently passed away. So I'm always fascinated to hear what the why is, what they're getting out of this. But really, it's recovery for all, right? And the recovery, even if they were injured, what we would think would be a long time ago, that recovery doesn't end. It really doesn't. So that's why you see athletes like Sass, who I had on in the first hour, or Mike and Haley, that keep coming back and go to the Invictus Games, because it's just it helps them in their personal lives, but both of them want to pay it forward, give back, and it's pretty cool to see. And the folks here at CC were, some sporting events you'll get, and they'll go, who's courtside? Oh, look, it's, Timothy Chalamet, Kylie Jenner, or it's Chris Rock, or it's, how about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? How about the Secretary of Health and Human Services for the United States of America? Was just here, was out in Reed Arena moments ago, shaking the hands of the athletes that are competing in sitting volleyball. And so you want to talk about, big time. I remember last time the Warrior Games were here, there at the Air Force Academy, I'm talking on air, and I noticed that there are like more people milling around me. And I know it's not for me, but I didn't, want to jerk my head around and try to see who it was. Well, finally, I kind of peeked over my shoulder because he moved a little bit. It was Herschel Walker. They were just standing right next to me at the Warrior Games a handful of years ago. And he sat down with me, and we had a great chat. And I bring up that story because Herschel Walker didn't announce his arrival. There were no bells and whistles. There were no PA announcement like, hey, Herschel Walker is here at the Warrior Games. And to get a reaction out of the crowd, he just came out to watch these servicemen and women compete. And it's the same thing with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. People didn't know he was going to be here. There wasn't a big announcement. But he did. I'm sure some key people, because of who he is, had to be alerted. But there was no big announcement. There was no, hey, looky here. He just came out to see these servicemen and women. And that's what's really cool about it, regardless of what you may think of, on the political side of things. He's the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and he's taking time to come to Colorado Springs and to shake a few hands of these athletes and tell them thank you for what they're doing. Very cool moment. And I got to imagine a highlight for any of the athletes that were able to shake the hand of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So that's Will Ferrell said. That just happened here at the DoD Warrior Games. Right now, it looks like we're in between matches here at City Volleyball is going on. We got our next couple of guests getting ready to make their way over here, as well as some former guests. Nala's back. We'll get to talk to Nala. But for now, we'll take a break and have more drive time sports from the DoD Warrior Games right after this on Sports 13.